What is up, everybody? Welcome into Shout, a Buffalo football podcast on this Friday, November 7th. Bills versus Dolphins is next up in sunny South Florida, Ryan. It is going to be a warm one on Sunday when the Bills take on the Dolphins for the second time this year. We are going to preview the game. We're going to go through some of the keys, which are going to include some injury watches over the next couple of days, and then obviously give our prediction on this episode of Shout. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Jealous that you get to enjoy some warmth, though, this weekend. We're not getting much of that anymore in Western New York.
It's been a little bit rainy, a little bit yucky. I did see that there's going to be some snow in the forecast next week, which is the perfect time to get out of town and go down to Miami Gardens and watch a football game. And where do you want to start? I'll give you the floor here. Take us where you want to go.
You know, I want to start with a person you interviewed today post-practice because I have a little, I don't know if it's a spicy take, but Landon Jackson, I liked your interview with him today. There is a role for him ahead now with AJ Epinesa out with a concussion on Sunday.
And it's funny because with Epinesa out, to me, the most easy fit into that role is Landon Jackson, right? More so than Javon Solomon, who they're going to ask to play, obviously some variation of the Joker role, moving him inside and out across the formation. To me, the interesting thing also that Landon said that I didn't post in that clip, I sent out to our insiders, and you can become an insider to get a little bit more coverage from us, 716-528-6727 to start your 2-week free trial. One of the things he said is it's really been about the detail. So getting his feet in the right spots, making sure that he's doing his job and setting the edge on the outside. And this week, more than any, Ryan, it's going to be so vital the Bills do that because Devin Achane is the one weapon in this offense. Of course, you have Jalen Waddle. We'll get to him in a minute. But I think Achane is the one that could really hurt the Bills. And talking to Deion Walker earlier in the week, he said, the thing that stands out about this team that he learned in the first matchup is that they're going to run a ton of outside zone runs. And the Bills, defending against zone runs this season, 31st out of 32 NFL teams, allowing over 5 yards per carry on those runs. So it's going to be twofold, inside and outside. At the first level, at the second level, at the third level, they're going to have to get to the ball. They're going to have to tackle. And to your point, this is a massive opportunity for Landon Jackson.
And in that first game against Devin Achane, they were so good in terms of him as a receiver. He caught 7 balls in that game for 29 yards. They really limited what he could do in terms of the impactful plays as a receiver. Obviously, he's a dangerous back as well, just carrying the ball. Yeah, the Bills are going to have their hands tied there. But for Landon Jackson, this is what, the payoff for the waiting. And he talked about that where it's been different for him because this has not been something he's been used to, being healthy and not being out there on the field. And, my little spicy take is he records his first NFL sack in this game against Miami on Sunday afternoon.
I love when Talbot starts getting going on the spicy / bold predictions. I think that's the best version of Shout, and maybe I'll deliver one at some point over the course of this episode. But if you think about this defensive line, and Daquan Jones is listed as questionable with the calf. He returned to practice. I'm a little bit dubious him not practicing on Wednesday if he'll be able to make it all the way back for this game and on the road against a 2-7 team. If you might not just want to slow play him. I mean, you think about it, Deion Walker, Jordan Phillips, Larry Ogunjobi, and they signed Fedarian Mathis to the 53-man roster this week. They could probably go into this game without Daquan Jones and be okay with it. The problem is, Ryan, it's like, you look up and down this roster, right? And you look at the injured reserve list, and you're looking at TJ Sanders, Michael Hoyt, who had successful surgery, by the way. Yes. Congratulations to him. Ed Oliver. And then one guy that I haven't even thought of in months, Dwayne Carter, was a guy that was going to be a part of the mix here in this defensive line room. The Bills are down 5 if you count Jones, because he's missed the last 3 games. 5 of the defensive linemen that went into reshaping this thing. And there's a chance with what's left over, there's still a really, really high level defensive line inside and outside. And I think Brandon Beane deserves some credit for the way that he's kind of reshaped this thing on the fly, and some of the potential pieces that can get added back in over the next couple of weeks, Jones, TJ Sanders, to give them the kind of juice to push this thing back to where, it's been at its peak throughout the first 8 games.
It is pretty crazy to think about all the injuries at that position. No one had Fedarian Mathis on their early 53-man roster for the Bills, obviously, because he wasn't even a part of the team until recently. But Jordan Phillips, you thought that was something that they weren't going to have to revisit because of the numbers and the depth there. And, lo and behold, with all these injuries, they're calling in veterans, bringing people up from their practice squad. We've seen Zion Logue as well in the mix, but they're getting enough out of that position where it hasn't been extremely noticeable that they've been down some really good players at times. So that is a testament to Brandon Beane and the talent that he's been able to find for this squad, the coaching staff, the ability to get these guys up to speed quickly, and then obviously some of these veterans too being able to come back, and especially in the case of Phillips, who knows the system, come in and play at a pretty high level.
I was about to go on a little rant here. Sean Kula here has been a little bit feisty in the comments the last couple of days, and I've noticed. Had a little comment here: is Sanders going to magically be good all of a sudden? And I'm not going to get too ranty. I'm not going to get too dialed up on this beautiful Friday with a trip down to Miami coming up tomorrow. But what I will say is, I don't know. I don't know if TJ Sanders is going to be good yet. They need him to be. They need him to find a way to impact games. And I don't think anybody 2 weeks ago was talking about Cole Bishop the same way that they're talking about him today. And it's different because Cole Bishop is a second-year guy, right? So he's had a little bit more of a runway to figure things out. But if I'm going to sit here and look at and project over the next couple of months what this defensive line can be, I think TJ Sanders as a pass rusher can find a way to add some juice to this defensive line. We've seen it at times going back to the preseason, at times in the regular season. There was a play, I can't remember what it was now. It was a sack. It might've been in the Baltimore Ravens game where Lamar Jackson got pressured, and it was actually TJ Sanders' initial pressure that caused him to kind of get off his spot. And then he was hit. He threw maybe an interception. It might've been the one play where it was a third down play, a crosser. He had to get rid of the ball quickly because Sanders put him off his spot. Whatever the case may be, there were a few splash plays by TJ Sanders as a pass rusher. Did they end in sacks? No. Was it good enough through the first 5 games of his career? No. But I'm not going to sit here and say that he's just now put into that pot for the rest of his rookie season. I want to see what it looks like.
And the flashes have been encouraging. And if he's not finishing plays with sacks, if you're a Bills fan, you're disappointed by that. I get it. But if he's being disruptive when he returns and making a few plays here and there in that capacity, I think that's a huge win for the Bills because we know how good Deon Walker has been. You're going to be getting Daquan Jones back here in the near future. You know what you have in Jordan Phillips. Ogunjobi still getting his feet wet post-suspension. So they don't necessarily need Walker to be a difference maker as soon as he gets back. You're just hoping that you see more and more flashes, and then that consistency is there by the end of the regular season come postseason.
And Sean Kula says, safe travels. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Hope things are going well out there in Utica. Did you just say Walker? Did you mean Sanders?
Sanders, yeah. Sorry if I did. Yep, my fault.
It's all good, brother. All right. So thank you so much for hanging out with us on this Friday. I got a lot of energy. By the way, I went to the doctor today. I got to do an MRI next week. I'm still going to be in the boot for the foreseeable future. So if you see me in the airport, walking around on my crutches, yeah, it's still going to be that way for at least this trip. After the Houston game, we're going to Disney, which that's T-minus like 2 weeks and 2 days. So you could see Matt in a scooter, like rocking around Disney World, which, by the way, I don't hate the idea.
You guys are going to get like right to the head of the line.
Yes. I didn't even think about that. Let's go.
Look at that.
Let's go.
Look at that.
We got Trader Clement here. What's up, fellas? Tuning in from Tennessee for a family trip. Flew across the country, but still watching Matt and Ryan in the Shout Bills pod. My man, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
We really appreciate that. Let's get into a quick look at the Dolphins injury report. I want to get into some of the keys.
2 big ones
here in a minute, but there's a couple of big ones. So D. Eskridge, not as big. He's ruled out for the game. The 2 big ones that you mentioned, Rasul Douglas, cornerback, and Chop Robinson, edge rusher, on the heels of the Jalen Phillips exit in trade to the Philadelphia Eagles, both listed as doubtful. Chop with the concussion, Rasul Douglas dealing with a foot ankle injury. I mean, this is a decimated defense. And that was this pairs perfectly with my key to the game for the Bills. And that is attack vertically against what I think is one of the worst defenses in the league against the pass. They're bottom 3 DVOA in pass defense. Jalen Phillips was the one guy that was really offering some juice as a pass rusher. I think with your 2 tackles, you're going to be able to neutralize Bradley Chubb quite a bit. And I think Chop Robinson at this point has even more juice than those guys. And he's probably not going to play in this game. The second level is a disaster. I mean, Tyrell Dotson, like the guy, but he's just not able to give you the kind of level of play at that second level that you need. And then on the outside, it's just in the secondary, it could be a huge insert Bills wide receiver name here game on Sunday against the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, starting with Rasul Douglas being doubtful, that's big. He came in and he was actually one of their best, if not the best cornerback for the team early in the season. It made me think, man, maybe he was playing with an injury last year in Buffalo. And, you know, he's been far from elite, don't get me wrong, but he's had some nice moments in Miami. And now that he's doubtful, you're right. You have to sit here and think, okay, that's going to bode well for some of these receivers on this team. And there's been some film, and I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to go with the spicy take of Curtis Samuel game or anything like that. But there was some really nice snaps from him where he cleared out a lot underneath by just running those deep routes. And maybe they do actually take a shot to him downfield in this matchup. Up front, you look at the defensive line now and you know, the pass rushers for the Dolphins. Phillips is in Philadelphia. Chop Robinson doubtful. There might just be some plays where Josh Allen has all day back there to wait for someone to get open, which with the separation problems this team has had, that might be exactly what is needed. So Bills obviously have their own injuries and worries in that area to consider, but there's a lot to like about that if you're a Bills fan, knowing that they could be down 2 key pieces.
Listen, there's a lot to like about early November. Number one, it is time to put the Christmas music on, okay, in the car, everywhere that you go. And right now, if you head over to Tops Friendly Markets, it is Christmas bonus time. Hop aboard the Savings Express as it is the season to save on groceries and all of your holiday gifts. Christmas bonus is underway at Tops, and you could shop at Tops and save $10 at all your other favorite stores and restaurants. With over 20 gift cards to choose from, there's something for everyone on your list. And don't forget, treat yourself to some extra savings too. Save on great gifts like toys and games from GameStop or Toys R Us at Macy's, things for your home from Lowe's, that new big screen TV you want from Best Buy, and so much more just by shopping at Tops. Get more out of your holiday budget with Christmas bonus from Tops. How'd you like that transition there?
I loved it. And I love Christmas music. I was rocking, I don't know if it's 96.1 now. It used to be Star 102.5. But we were rocking the radio on the way up to Wingnuts a few weekends ago. All Christmas music as of November 1st. Just having a grand old time.
I love it. Can you just do a little carpool karaoke? Just set up your video in there and just, you know,
maybe I might have to. I might have to.
I like it. John Robert over on Facebook. Hello to you. AJ Epinesa, we discussed him. Shaq Thompson is out in this game. He's still dealing with the hamstring. And again, that's one of those situations where there's no need to rush him back with the portion of the schedule that you have coming up here. Obviously the Bucs are tough. But you got a couple of, you know, teams under 500 here in the Dolphins. And then on the other side of the Bucs, you have the Texans, depending on what's going on with CJ Stroud there. That is a different matchup. But the one interesting, questionable to really watch here, because Taron Johnson, listen, you want him back, but Cam Lewis was so good last week. It's kind of an afterthought if Taron Johnson can't go for me. Christian Benford can't go. Now you're talking about the first NFL start potentially for Max Hairston. And in this game, I think it's like, I stopped short of saying that I'm pulling for Christian Benford not to play, because I think you want him on the field if possible. But a soft tissue injury is not something you want to rush through. I think it's kind of some good adversity to put Trey White and Maxwell Hairston in a spot this week against a Dolphins offense that has a premier wide receiver in Jalen Waddle. I want to see those matchups with Hairston and Waddle. Like, sign me up for all those battles on Sunday. And the more that you can get, the more I think it's going to be better off for Max long-term to start putting him in these situations a little bit more so. And you're not forced to say, oh, I'm going to sit down Trey White and give Maxwell Harrison a start in the full game. With the Christian Benford injury, you're almost kind of allowed, if you're Sean McDermott, to just see what this thing looks like as Max as CB1, because let's not forget Christian Benford, they just extended him, big time contract, cornerback number 1 on this team, no doubt about it. He's a 6th-round draft pick. Max Harrison was brought in here to be a guy, eventually the guy, and he might get that opportunity on Sunday.
And I would love to see some of those matchups against Waddle if the opportunity presented itself. You know, going back a few weeks, I wouldn't hate it if the Bills did what they did at the linebacker position a few weeks ago, where they had Terrell Bernard active, but they didn't really play him with the ankle injury. He was just there in case of emergency. If Benford's good enough to go, have him active, but don't play him unless you absolutely have to. Let it be, as you mentioned, Trey White and Max Harrison, and see what that looks like, and get some of your other guys mixed in as well. And I'm not trying to downplay Miami. These divisional games have been very close, despite the Bills winning the last 7. 5 of them have been within 10 points. I think 4 of them have been within 7 points. So they usually play the Bills pretty tough. But at this point, you do want to see what it looks like with a larger snap share for Hairston. And this gives the Bills a natural opportunity to do so.
I want to circle back to Landon Jackson for a second, because there's one part of this matchup that I think bodes so well for him in, like, maybe his push into the deep end of the snap share, like, if you will. Because if you think about it, Joey Bosa is dealing with that wrist injury. He's all clear to go, it looks like, but it looked like he had some kind of wrap on it in practice. And I'm wondering if they maybe want to minimize his snaps a little bit, maybe cut that down by a percentage. We could see a lot of Landon Jackson in this game. And what I like about the matchup even more so is you have a quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa who isn't a mobility threat. Like, he's not going to be moving around back there. If he goes back to pass, it is you don't even have to worry about setting the edge on obvious passing downs, because it's going to be about pinning your ears back and getting back there. And some of AJ Epenesa's biggest games over the course of his career have come against the Dolphins. And I think that's part of it as a rusher. There's so many of these dual threat quarterbacks nowadays that I think it's almost like a sigh of relief when you can go out there in a game and you know exactly what you have to deal with and the limited skill set of a Tua.
Yeah, it's going to help. That's why I was predicting a sack for Landon Jackson. You don't have to worry about the mobility, and this is not a Lamar Jackson situation or any of these other mobile quarterbacks that the Bills kind of were going against early in the season. This is, he can take off and run and slide, but this is not someone that's going to be rushing for 100+ yards anytime soon. So it's a matchup where I feel like the Bills can find ways to take advantage and collapse the pocket on him, try to make, pressure a few throws, get it home, sack him, and looking forward to see if they can even come close to replicating what they did last week against KC.
All right, let's get into a big key to the game that we haven't already discussed, a player that you're watching on Sunday, and then we'll get into our predictions to close this thing down. Why don't you start with a big key?
Big key for me is simply going to be keeping your offense balanced. You're going to be tempted to maybe throw the ball a lot in this one, with the pass rush being as bad as it is in Miami, knowing how bad they are against tight ends. This could be another big Dalton Kincaid game, but don't forget about that guy named James Cook that you have in your backfield that's having one of the best seasons in the league at the running back position. I don't think that's something you have to worry about either, but it's one of my keys, staying balanced, keeping the Dolphins on their heels, knowing that Cook can hurt them in so many ways. That can open up the play action again, like we saw last week at times. So stay balanced, stay true, even if this matchup kind of gives you a feeling that you could maybe have all day to throw from the pocket.
So for me, one of the big keys in this game, if not the biggest, is pressuring Tua, but also hitting Tua. And I think if you go back over the last couple of seasons, when the Bills have had their most success against the Dolphins, it's come in games where not only their front four are getting home, but the design blitzes that I'm sure Sean McDermott is going to devise in this game to confuse Tua. Matt Milano in this game could be a huge factor in terms of the blitz game. Terrell Bernard, even a guy like Cam Lewis, coming off. It happened so early in the game last week that I didn't spend a lot of time on it post game. Christian Benford's sack early in that game really helped set the tone for that defensive performance. And I think, Sean McDermott now calling the defense, like, he's been in his bag with just the game planning, how they're running their scheme, how they're differentiating, disguising. It feels a lot like the defenses of yore, if you will, for this Buffalo Bills team. And I think they're going to throw a couple of different wrinkles at Tua as well. I think one guy to watch, if I'm looking for a player to watch in this game, and I wrote about him at Syracuse.com, Deion Walker. It's been a great season for him as a run defender. He's actually third in the NFL and tackles for a loss by a defensive tackle. He has been asked to step into a larger role. He's playing the most snaps percentage-wise of any defensive tackle on the Bills roster. But as a pass rusher, I still think there's a ton more meat on the bone. Like, they're asking him to play nose tackle. They're asking him to take on double teams and, hold up blocks. And he's doing that at a high level. But there's pass rush juice there. So I think, you mentioned Landon Jackson with a sack in this game. I think Deion Walker is a guy I'm predicting to come away with a sack in this game, getting some pressure on the interior. He mentioned that, their center and their right guard are a little bit undersized. Against a mountain of a man like Deion Walker, you want to kind of pick on those kind of matchups. So I'm going to be watching Deion Walker pretty closely this week.
I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to go with two players, both named Jordan Hancock, Jordan Poyer. I loved what they did last week against Kansas City, the way that they played with the three safety looks at times, how they were able to take away some of the easy plays for Patrick Mahomes. And if there's one thing we know about Tua and this Miami Dolphins offense is if you can throw his timing off, take away that first read, it gets a lot more difficult for him, and that's when mistakes happen. So I'm counting on them to step up again in a big moment. Obviously, Cole Bishop as well, but I'll go with the Jordans and spicy take two. Jordan Poyer gets an interception in this game. A little, I don't know if you want to call it revenge, but he did not have a very fun season last year in Miami, and I know the fans from Miami have been pretty rough on him on social media.
It's going to be. Well, first of all, before I get there, thank you so much for watching, making us part of your Friday. We really appreciate you checking in. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well over on YouTube. If you're hosting a party this weekend, let Tops do the cooking for you and you'll be the MVP. Visit takeoutmeals.topsmarkets.com and elevate your food game with great selection of custom cakes, desserts, pizzas, sandwiches, fresh fruit, cheese trays, fried chicken, and so much more. The famous breakfast pizza is the best way to start your day on a football Sunday, especially when the Bills play at 1:00. All right, prediction time. I will start us off. I got the Bills in what I think is going to be a game that's not very close. I have the Bills winning 35-20. I think they're going to be able to establish the run early. I think that Josh Allen is going to attack on the outside. Like last week, we were talking about Keon Coleman and all of the buzz around him and the commentary from Steve Smith and how that potentially was affecting him. And if the Bills would maybe try to force the ball to him a little bit, couldn't really do that in that matchup. This week against this defense, I think Keon Coleman could eat a little bit and maybe they look to get him more involved early, push the ball down the field, give him some of those 50-50 balls. I think they are going to try to do exactly that. They're going to succeed in that. I think there'll be turnovers. I think there'll be hits. I think the Bills win big, 35-20.
I have the Bills winning this one 31-21 with a garbage time touchdown late by Miami. So not even that close, 31-14 late in the game before we finally see another score from Miami. I think that right now Miami they're not in tank mode. They kept Mike McDaniel, but their defensive line's in bad shape. Their offense, once they're out of sync, they struggle quite a bit. You saw they fell apart last week against the Ravens on Thursday Night Football. I can see the Bills establishing a few scores early in this game and really getting them all out of sorts, which throws off their game plan. Bills win another one, and then look ahead to that next weekend's matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Shout out to Kentucky 2020 in the YouTube channel. First time listening. Enjoyed it. Go Bills. Thank you so much for making us a part of your Bills podcast experience. There's a lot out there, and we always appreciate everybody that kind of comes in and makes us part of your rotation. All right. So a couple things. We are coming back to Turning Stone. That was announced. If you're in the central New York area, get this on your calendars. December 18th. It is a Thursday night. Ryan and I will be out at Turning Stone. This will be our second show of the year. We did a draft special. I think overall, this will be our fifth live show at Turning Stone. So we're so excited when we can kind of chop it up with, we do Rochester area, the 585 during training camp. We could do the Central New York at Turning Stone a couple times a year. It's just a great time, Ryan.
We always have a blast there. It's a beautiful venue. Come check it out. You won't be disappointed.
All right, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the game. Catch us after the game for another episode of Shout. Take care, everybody.